The MDC Alliance President Nelson Chamisa yesterday warned President Emmerson Mnangagwa against stoking political fires through arbitrary arrest of his opponents and silencing of divergent voices. Chamisa told reporters in an interview yesterday that the Zimbabwean government's arbitrary arrest and torture of opposition activists and other citizens who hold divergent views were likely to escalate ahead of the 2023 harmonized elections if they were not nipped in the bud. He also called on the African Union regional bodies to act swiftly in condemning dictatorship on the African continent, as well as use of the military in settling political contestation disputes like what happened in Uganda during last week's elections, where veteran leader President Yoweri Museveni was announced as winner of an election made by intimidation and arrests of opposition leaders. Museveni was announced winner with the army camped at his rival Robert Kyagulanyi, who is also known as Bobi Wine's residence. On the arrest of the journalist Hopo Chingono, the MDC Alliance Vice Chairperson Job Scala and the party spokesperson Fadzai Mahere and others, Chamisa said it was clear that the Mnangagwa administration was using the law as a tool for oppression in Zimbabwe. He said that intimidation of opposition leaders and divergent voices was the same template that was used by African dictators. It is the same template used by dictators, and it represents a major attack on alternative voices. It shows that our country is sliding back into the Rhodesian settler regime era, where politics of repression, torture, and arbitrary arrest were the order of the day. It is a signifier of shrinking democratic space, the main opposition leader said. He also said the country was sliding back in anarchy and trinary, taking advantage of the COVID-19 lockdown period. We are sliding back into anarchy and trinary, whereas we have the COVID-19 and we have a pandemic of authoritarianism. We have a disease of despotism and dictatorship, escalation of persecution by prosecution. He added that it is an attempt to poison the nation and stoke fires of hostility. Instead of my opposite number, Mnangagwa, being a father figure, he is choosing to behave like the last born in the family, starting fires and mischief when we need a head of state and a sober-minded person. We don't need to be pyromanics. He is in the habit of starting fires, and a government leader must not start fires but extinguish them. This is advice I am giving to my opposite number, Mnangagwa, for free. He who starts fire often gets burnt by those fires. This is genuine elderly advice. Stop harassing citizens. It's always wise not to make the mistake of growing old without growing up. Zimbabwe needs maturity and magnanimity as well as tolerance in politics. The ZANU-PF spokesperson Simon Kayamo was not picking up calls yesterday for a comment, but the ZANU-PF is on record distancing itself from the abuse of state machinery for political gain. On the issue of the just-ended Ugandan elections, Chamisa said it spelled doom for Africa, adding that regional bodies must stand against such gigantic fraud. It is ominous and spells doom for the African continent. A disputed election places a danger on our continent's march to democracy and progressive governance. There is a disturbing new wave of dictators wherein the incumbent abuses state institutions to perpetuate their grip on political power. No sitting president must abuse state institutions for personal purposes. Nobody must abuse key people institutes like the army, the police, or court to redeem their fortunes in a political office. Apart from the COVID-19, we now have the authoritarian pandemic of dictatorship and disputed elections. We have seen election disputes in Africa, and we have shining examples in South Africa and recently in Malawi. Brutal killings and elimination of competitors in the name of politics has no place in the new Africa that we seek to build. He said, no life has and should be lost on account of politics and/or elections. Oppressions must come to an end, and oppression will end when the oppressed stand up and the oppressor is forced to sit down and bow out. This has been the most unfair, violent election campaign in recent times, with the butchering of innocent citizens almost on an industrial scale. The expression of the will of the people cannot be altered by an army like what we have seen in Uganda. That is unacceptable. The persecution of Bobi Wine is an attack on the fresh face of Africa and an attack on the largest constituency on the continent. The young people who must stand up and dominate, he also said.